What's up, Internet World? We're the News 19 Nerds. I'm Leroy.
I'm Michael.
We're here to review CBS's show, Lower Decks.
Yeah. At one point, we thought we were going to do a weekly review.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
We were kidding ourselves.
Yeah.
That was too much work that neither of us wanted to do.
Well, not only that, it's election season, and I don't know if you guys know this, if you're new, or if you're, an old head. This is kind of the side project they let us do, and as long as it doesn't interfere with, the work
we get paid for, they don't mind. So
but when they're like, hey, did you see the president drop down to this debate? Were you guys down there shooting a video?
Yeah, so pretty much, Since behind the scenes for you at this point, it's like almost midnight here on the East Coast, so there's nothing really happening, so we can shoot some videos.
Yeah, so we got finished with our work day.
Yeah.
So we can talk about Star Trek.
So I guess we just do doing overall thoughts of the show?
Let's do an overall, before we get into spoiler, let's do an overall of what you, because we did the initial trailer reaction.
Yep.
We had some thoughts about it. Go back.
I think I was more on board from that than you were.
Correct.
Yeah.
I will say that the trailer didn't sell me. I was only on board because the creator was a Star Trek nerd and really convinced the higher-ups to let him do this show.
Right.
And then the first episode, I'll be honest with you, didn't sell me as well. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until subsequent episodes went through, and then I was like, okay.
Yeah. This is, and backstory for you guys, in terms of Star Trek lore and knowing it, Leroy knows it pretty well. I know it mainly more from the new movies that came out. And
the Kelvin universe.
Yes, the Kelvin universe, and just now starting to watch Next Generation. We did watch Picard. You can see that review up on our YouTube page. We did do that weekly. But as somebody who's really kind of coming into this new, I enjoyed it. I think it's a pretty easy to follow show. There are definitely inside jokes and stuff they reference that I didn't know what they were talking about, but I could understand if somebody knew who that was. Oh, I'm sure that's a big deal for them. I enjoyed it. I thought the animation was nice. I think everybody did well in their roles. Yeah.
I love this show.
Okay.
I'm letting you know now, we're going to do an end of the year. What was the best shows?
Okay.
You pick a couple and I pick a couple.
Uh-huh.
This is going on my list.
Okay.
This was one of my best shows of the year, as far as like writing, as far as like getting Star Trek. Mm-hmm. I will admit that I was apprehensive about this show, only because I didn't know if they could pull it off. I didn't know if the comedy would go over, if it would be too much. Mm-hmm. The first episode kind of sold me. Yeah. I didn't like Boimler, the character played by Jack Quaid, who was also Huey in The Boys. Yeah. Another show eventually we'll get to.
And honestly, Boimler is kind of like Huey.
He just plays the same guy.
Hey man, good job.
Honestly,
you found your niche.
He plays and there's a lot of similarities, but feel like Boimler is more of a suck up, where Huey is more of. Huey isn't a suck up. Huey's going through PTSD, because if you really think about what The Boys is, it's a very short window of what is from when his fiance died, to where he is now in season 2. Yeah. That's a very short window. Whereas Boimler is trying to find himself in Starfleet, but is also kind of a kiss ass. Yeah. So but the character that stood out to me, and she kind of had to, she carries it. Tawny Newsome as Ensign Beckett Mariner is one of the best created characters, I think, in a long time. Okay. One to see a person of color animated was great. One to see a woman animated, and you don't have to be. The one thing I like about it is it focused on the lower decks. The bridge crew were like the cool kids in high school in the lower decks, but she was such a nuanced character that's what made me love the show. It was, don't get me wrong, the little quirks about the show were great, but it was the fact of her being so self-assured as a character,
Yeah.
but then so insecure at the same time. She was one of the most, especially as an animated character in 10 episodes, a very well-rounded character.
Yeah. For me, my favorite character was probably
Tindy?
Yes, Tindy. I really like Tindy.
I thought you were going to say Rutherford at first.
Yeah, Tindy, played by Noelle Wells. You may know her. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head is she was in Master of None on Netflix. The first 2 seasons or whatever, but she was in that show.
It was only 2 seasons.
Yeah, I said the first 2 seasons.
I was like, because I was about to say, is there another one that I missed?
Yeah, she was in that show. But yeah, I liked her personality. She was bubbly and she was
so plucky.
So plucky, a little naive.
The dog episode.
But yeah, that was good. But she was never taken advantage of.
No.
Which was great. And even in some episodes, she proved that she could hold her own.
Oh yeah.
Unwittingly, they're like, wait, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
I thought that's what I was supposed to do. But yeah, that was cool. I liked her a lot.
She was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. And I like that the show was kind of Star Trek is people making first contact with civilizations, right? And it kind of seems like, from my perspective, that once they make that first contact, they kind of
So I would say before, because let's break it down. So there's certain shows.
Okay.
Next Generation, about first contact, the mission of Starfleet, and the original Star Trek. Then you have Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise. Enterprise kind of did that too, but so everybody knows about that first contact. But the Cerritos is the grunts, the people who do the real work.
Right. They're making those second contacts.
Yes.
And then
they get people assigned the dotted line.
Right. Below them, you got the lower decks. So I like it was like levels upon levels of so you're like the lowest of the low of people doing stuff. You are the grunts of the grunts. I like where that was going.
You're the people who clean out the transporter.
Yes, yes. All the time.
The holodeck.
Yeah. But I liked it. It was cool to see, even within their system, like the class, like a higher, upper, lower class society, of how many of the, I don't want to call them circles, but
the ensigns, the ranks,
your promotions or whatever, to see where you rank in the pecking order. Great show overall. I don't think anything really, when we, in a deleted scene or deleted episode that you won't see when we kind of reviewed the first episodes, first 3, I talked about, I thought Mariner talked really fast and everybody kind of talked fast, and I don't know if I just got used to it or what, but as the show went on, it seemed like their pace.
It worked.
Yeah, it worked.
That's why I said when it first came out, the first 3 episodes, in my opinion, should have been released and then done it weekly. Now, they didn't. To me, I think they maybe didn't have enough for that. I'm going to say something that may be blasphemous. I would get CBS All Access for this show.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think we said that for Picard.
I did.
I can't remember. I
did. I definitely said I wouldn't get it for Picard.
Okay.
I might have gotten it for Discovery.
Yeah.
I would get it for this.
Okay.
This, not just because, well, one Star Trek is one of my all-time favorite loves. I'm one of those people where people are like Star Trek versus Star Wars. I love them both. You remember the taco commercial, the little girl? They were like crunchy, soft tacos, and she was like, why not both? And they were like, you can love them both. Yeah. I do. I loved it for its quirkiness. I loved it for its ingenuity. But I also loved it because we do a job where some days this job is very hard. Emotionally, mentally, time away from family. When I would come home and I would stay up or I would get up early in the morning or whatever, this 30 minutes was a nice breath of fresh air.
Now that I think about it, this show kind of debuted, how old is Evan?
4 months tomorrow.
Okay, so I mean,
actually now
the course of the entirety of the first season is also along the same lines as old as your son, more or less. So, I mean, you kind of were able to watch it with him.
I literally watched it with him.
Yeah.
So when he gets up for his feedings at night, I usually, because it usually takes me about 30 minutes to feed him, burp him, and change him. This is on.
Yeah.
We watched the season finale together, and
Describe you watched it together.
So I'm feeding him. I'm sitting. I now have I have a dad chair now, and he's feeding, normally he looks at me. And as I'm feeding him, I'm watching him, I look down, and I was watching the show, and it got bright. We're getting to spoilers in a minute, but there was a very particular scene, and it got bright. And I know at 4 months he does not understand. I know he doesn't, like, there's no way in the world, but it was just so bright and it was moving, he stopped eating. And it was just like I was able to pull the bottle out, and he just watched it, the rest of it, and watched it with me, and didn't eat until it was over. And again, as I say this, I know it's not like a father and son moment where he got it, but I loved it because I'm watching this and I'm getting chills of moments of other Star Trek situations, watching this and enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I'm holding my son. And eventually you get that moment where you're like, it's almost like when you ever watch something nerdy and someone else discovers it and you're like,
oh yeah,
and you're like,
yep, you got a new one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it felt like that. And that's why I've really enjoyed this show, because it's so, I'm not knocking any other show. The Outsider was heavy. You're watching Lovecraft Country. You really enjoying it, but that's a heavy show.
Yeah.
Watchmen, oh my gosh. There's a lot, and this is one of those shows that was just a breath of fresh air that was just enjoyable.
Yeah.
So, you getting into spoilers?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Spoiler talk.
Spoiler talk.
Yeah.
Woo! That's season finale, son. Man.
So is that like your high point of the season, probably?
That, when Mariner met her old school Starfleet Academy buddy.
You become a captain now?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
She really, the episode where they lost the Klingon commander. Oh
Yeah.
man, like it's just, I really enjoyed it. I really like Tawny Newsome. I really hope she is given all her accolades, because as a breakout character, on a new show, to discover her voice, the writing, the pacing was perfect.
It seems like more people are learning about her, because I want to say she's in Space Force, right?
I have no idea. Oh yeah, she's the pilot.
Helicopter.
Yeah, the helicopter pilot with Steve Carell.
You're seeing her in a lot more stuff, and she has like a small part in Sherman's Showcase, but she's in that. So she's in like bit parts and a bunch of different things, but a lot of things that are out now.
The funniest thing is that we all thought she was fired when she stood up to Steve Carell in the beginning, and then he liked that. And I honestly did not realize that was her, because when you see her headshots on like the model headshots, she's beautiful. And again, I'm not saying she wasn't in Space Force, but I did not put two and two together until I saw her name, and I was like,
sure.
"That's you."
I'm trying to think. A big standout for me was the dog episode where Tindy made a dog that was wild, and the show does a good job of not killing you or beating you over the head with a joke, because you're like, this dog is so weird.
Yeah.
And Tindy's just cool with it, and then like the big punchline is she thought that was a normal dog.
Yeah.
So that's like, oh, that's why you guys are freaking out, because it's not normal. I think it does a good job of pacing out the joke and then hitting you at the end. It's like, it's very well paced.
And I also love that like certain people were in on it and like wilding out, and then some people were like, this is just another day.
Yeah.
Like Mariner was like, her and Boimler were like, yo, I'm tired. We've been working. And she was like, wake me up when it's something I need to be concerned about. Basically, like when the dog starts eating people.
Yeah.
Jack Quaid stood out because he's kind of the straight man, even though he's the suck up. Jack Quaid played the straight man as Boimler, but
Bradward Boimler.
yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was just
what a name.
The episode where he had a girlfriend.
That was great. Because Mariner couldn't believe somebody would like him.
Bravo.
And the show does a good job of, like, it starts out with the big problem, and then it gets more insular and insular, and as it does a lot of Easter egg stuff, because she was saying a bunch of stuff that I didn't know, but I'm sure it was like Star Trek references, like, oh, this is this and this, and this and this, because of the shell and all that. Like, this, yeah.
It really does, and that's what I loved about the show, because it was, you're right, it was one of those shows where it did have a lot of Easter eggs for me. Spoiler alert, season finale when they're fighting the guys who stormed the ship, and Mariner has like stuff stashed away, all the contraband.
Yeah.
And her mom is like, "Is there not a place?" And she's like, "Where did you think I got this, Riker?" Because Riker on Next Generation was always kind of like, Ransom is like Riker to the 10th.
Okay.
And so like I love that, to where those little niches and little nods to the original show, the Next Generation, whatever you call it. I love that, but then it wasn't so kitschy that you who didn't watch all these shows and didn't get all these references. And
some of them I was able to get because I am familiar with Dana Troy and Riker. So seeing them at the end, I was like, oh, that's cool that they're doing on this ship. They're part of the USS Titan, I guess.
So that's what
has been referenced but hasn't actually been seen anywhere.
Yeah,
this is the first time you've seen it.
And that was the coolest thing, because if you watch the last episode of The Next Generation, if you get to that part, they do jump into the future where Worf goes his own, where everybody goes their own way, and Riker becomes the captain of the Titan. And we know in Picard, spoiler alert, they leave Starfleet.
Yeah.
And so to see them back on Titan, and so what I'm wondering is, where does this fall in line?
Right.
Is this before Picard, or is this so like? It was so awesome to see those different things, but I really loved seeing people like I know. So Dawn Lewis as her mom and as the captain.
Yeah.
I knew it was Dawn Lewis, but there were moments where I was like, is that really Dawn? Like, it was just from Jaleesa, from Different World, and all the different things that she's done over the years. It was such a minor role, but such a standout role.
Yeah.
Eugene Cordero as Rutherford. I know him, but it was so different hearing his voice attached to Rutherford.
Yeah.
And seeing him in these different situations. The Badgie episode, where you could tell he really liked Tendi, and he really wanted to press her. Meanwhile, old boy from 30 Rock is trying to kill him.
Jack McBrayer is over here. Yeah, that was really cool.
The psycho Badgie, who rears his head again at the, like, oh man, like, it was such a standout season that I almost didn't want it to end. Like I almost don't want another one, because I'm like, how do you top this?
I was going to ask you, so what do you want in season 2? Because the season finale gives us Boimler is now on the Titan.
He stole. So the season finale, Boimler outs Mariner, steals the promotion that she wanted, the transfer.
When you say outs, explain outs.
So
'cause a lot of people would say outs is like you let somebody know that.
So the funniest thing about, because we didn't understand why Captain Freeman had it so much in for Beckett. And we realized they're mother and daughter.
Right.
And she doesn't want her daughter undermining her and wants her off the ship. Beckett doesn't want off the ship because she can do whatever she wants. And she doesn't really have to grow up.
Right.
No one knows this. Boimler finds out. The whole ship finds out.
Right.
She wants to go back to being anonymous and not having to be a star in Starfleet, and your mom and your dad, all that other stuff. She thought, okay, I can transfer to another ship. Boimler stole or outmaneuvered her to get the transfer.
Yeah.
So he took the transfer. She's stuck on the Cerritos.
Yeah. So it's that is not how I expected this show to end. I definitely thought our four mains of Rutherford, Boimler, Tendi, and Mariner were going to be still on the Cerritos or something. But no, Boimler's off doing something. So I'm curious to see how they
get back together. I really enjoyed the fact that Tendi was the new person. You saw things through her eyes. But the one thing that I think they did a good job, slowly but surely, and it's something we talked about in Picard, we've talked about in other shows, but especially Star Trek, because Star Trek is one of those shows where you see the bridge crew, you see the first contact. As a matter of fact, Star Trek has a movie called First Contact. The business of Starfleet, and then the work that gets done is done by regular people.
Right.
And Mariner has a vision that Starfleet doesn't live up to its ideals as it should. Whereas Captain Freeman is like, follow the rules, do this, all this stuff. And at the end of the show, they're like this.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very interesting, because that theme is something we've seen through a lot of these new Star Trek properties. We saw that in Discovery.
Yeah.
We saw that
And Picard.
and we definitely saw it in Picard.
Yeah.
I mean, Picard, we got him showing up, and the old girl was like,
Yeah, you did not do what you were all high and mighty. You did not do what you were supposed to do.
I was like, yo.
Yeah.
And to me, I think, and I don't know if it's because I'm a nerd and I love Star Trek, but I felt like they did a better job of explaining it in a way than I think Picard did, that they, without hitting you over the head with it.
Yeah.
Like, Picard was like, we are, and I hate to use this term, but it's like Picard beat you over the head with like, I'm right, and here's a speech and everything.
I'm gonna not sit in this seat so
Yeah,
I can sit wherever because I'm so proper.
And I was like,
yeah,
oh,
that was a wild episode.
I was like, because I said it, I was like, oh man, you deserve to get your ass whooped.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that was wild.
And whereas Lower Decks, I felt like they did a better job of showing that. Mm-hmm. So that's
and with the shorter amount of time because they were 30
10
minutes
episodes,
supposed to as an hour or whatever. I did like, for me, the standout was the episode where Mariner kind of did therapy on herself. Where she's like, oh, you know what? I do have some stuff wrong with me. It was a very good episode. It was funny, but it was very touching too.
It was wild because she hijacked the holodeck.
From Boimler.
From Boimler, had a pirate crew. Mm-hmm. Her crew then sided with, like, they did a whole movie, like, the show was so meta in certain moments where you were just like, this is good. Mm-hmm. And we talked about it in Press Play. Are we going to see more animated features? Are we going to see more things because of COVID and people being able to do voiceover work? I personally want to see that because you would have never gotten that episode in a live action show.
Yeah, for sure.
You would have never gotten that kind of meta in a live action show. And I know because the creator is attached to Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty does that kind of meta. Mm-hmm. But that breaking the fourth wall and, you know, like have you watched season 4 yet?
Oh, Rick and Morty?
Yeah.
Not behind.
Oh, man. So I'm not going to spoil it. But they do that. And I think animation gets to do things you could never get away with in a live action movie. And don't get me wrong, I think there's a possibility that eventually we'll get there.
Yeah.
But no one has done a multiverse the way Into the Spider-Verse is done. Mm-hmm. And I think that's only because it was animation. That was only done that way because you had great writers, great animators, and you had a great cast. Yeah. I feel the same way about Lower Decks. I don't know if you could pull that off.
Yeah.
That kind of meta episode. We got to pour a little bit out because we're at work, so there's got to be water. A fallen soldier.
Oh, yeah. What's his name?
Shax.
Shax? Yeah.
How do you pronounce his last name? Because I always say it's Tessacor. Tessacor.
Tatasciore?
See, I
don't know. I always thought it was too. I don't know. And I know he's a
well-known,
prominent voice actor.
I never knew how to pronounce. Now you know I'm bad at names.
Yeah.
But Lieutenant Shax.
Yeah.
I did not. Spoiler alert! If you hadn't seen the season finale, I'm about to spoil it. So you've been warned. This is the part where me and Evan were like, "You got lullabies."
That's my alarm to let me know it's time to go to sleep. So there we go.
Shax, man.
Yeah, he. I was thinking, everybody's going to be able to get out of this episode, and we're going to reset everything. No.
Son, when he threw Rutherford in there, and he was like,
you pushed him out, and
I was like, yo. Mm-hmm. I was like, did that really just happen, son?
Yeah.
Like, I felt for Shax.
And it's interesting because another, maybe, I don't know if it's the same type of comparison, but we did have a main prominent character die in Lower Decks, whereas we thought we had a death in Picard, but it really wasn't because they just put him in a different body.
Yeah, that was a cop out.
Yeah, but I mean, they killed somebody on Lower Decks.
I honestly kind of want not to.
I'm just thinking about it now. That final episode was so good because, for the most part, it's been jovial the entire time. That episode had real stakes whenever that first ship got destroyed.
Son.
It was bleak. I was like, oh, this is a different tone. It wasn't funny. Cause it starts out funny. She's like, I like the ship and the stickers and all that stuff. Gone.
Boom.
Yeah, and then Silas like, oh, okay.
That's some real stuff.
Yeah.
Because the reason why it was real is because we'd been and seen so many other episodes where everybody makes it.
Yeah.
The episode with I'm trying to remember what her name was, but her voice was sexy. And is it Vanessa Marshall?
I'm not
Lieutenant no. The lady who was no, Tokes. I don't know. I'm not even going to attempt to say that.
Cool.
Ramsey. Remember, she was the lady who went to the academy with Mariner, and she was the babysitter captain?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that voice was sexy. Hey, man. The way she kept talking, I was like, oh, yeah, she need to be on that. She need to be on that.
She had like an accent.
Yeah, so remember when they found the ship, they rescued everybody. Mm-hmm. Her and Mariner worked together, got everybody to safety. So you were thinking, oh, they're going to rescue everybody. And then remember, they lost a port in the cell.
Yeah.
So, and then you saw people, and this episode reminded me of, and I know it gets a lot of hate, and I like the Kelvin universe. I'm going to say it. I did not mind Into the Darkness as much as everybody else did. Mm-hmm. But it reminded me of that scene a little bit of Into the Darkness where Kirk tries to talk to Khan and was like, hey, just be like, your beef is with me, beam me over. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I'll target your warp core. And he was just like, and he just starts hitting the Enterprise. Mm-hmm. That reminded me of that, but with more emotional weight.
For the season finale of the cartoon. Right?
The season finale of the cartoon, because I felt like they tried to do the bait and switch thing with you and Into the Darkness, and there was kind of real stakes with that whole idea of, I've never lost a crew member, I'm a good captain, that kind of thing. But in Lower Decks, we'd seen them make it, and they were like, nah, son, we gonna blow up a whole ship.
Yeah.
And then in the episode where the boring guy, I think, Haley Joel Osment played him. Lieutenant O'Connor? No, not Lieutenant O'Connor. Who was the captain? Freeman was, remember they were towing the Ark?
Yeah.
They saved everybody there.
Yeah.
So you'd seen so many opportunities for them to, everything's going to be fine.
We had it set up, established there. I would always make it. Yeah, they did a good job.
I was impressed, and I'm going to say this, and Disney, I hope you're listening. You need a Lower Decks. Star Wars needs a Lower Decks type show.
Something to take the piss out of it.
Well, but also,
as the Brits would say,
you also need a show that shows you something outside of the goddamn Skywalker.
Yeah.
The family of space
and it's funny,
wizards.
I think Disney's going to have that with Marvel, but not with Star Wars. I think like that Marvel What If show is going to be something, that could be something like that. Where it's going to be kind of quirky and weird, but Star Wars still doesn't have it yet.
But this is the thing. I think you can't be scared to do it. Mm-hmm. I think Star Wars, and I'm not trying to get into the Star Wars is better than I'm not saying that. I'm saying that right now, Star Wars is in a turmoil because it's trying to figure out what it is. Mm-hmm. We've had different interpretations of the canon from different people.
Yeah. And
I think the reason why The Mandalorian is so good is because you got away from the space wizards, as Mando says.
Yeah.
But also, it shows you another side of the same universe and the people who actually live in it. Mm-hmm. It's not about Coruscant. It's not about the Jedi Knights and the Temple. It's about the people who live in this universe and the things they have to do to make it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that is Star Wars but makes fun of Star Wars at the same time.
Right.
They're trying to pander to so many different people instead of making one property for kids, one property for
I feel like the closest thing that we got to that, they fired Lord Miller.
Yep.
Solo could have been that.
Solo could have been that.
They said, no, we're not doing that.
Because this is the thing. you have different properties for different people, whether you want to admit it or not. You have your Mando, you have your Rogue One, which is abysmally bleak.
Yeah.
Rogue One is your Dirty Dozen.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, everybody dies. And Garth Edwards is even on record saying, I didn't think they would let me kill everybody because of the toys. And they were like, nah, in the mall. Like, blew up. You let Darth Vader, like, that's
Darth Vader was
Darth Vader. Like,
I was like, wow.
You got to see why he was the most, like, lean into that.
Yeah.
And Star Trek Lower Decks leaned into all of those things. Q.
That's somebody I do know, so it was fun to see him. And because Q's always kind of an annoying, it's like, I don't want to deal with it, but they did it.
The way they handled Q.
Yeah, it's like again, not today.
They were like, man, he was like, why don't you go best with Picard? He was like, he's just going to speak.
Yeah.
Like, where's the Star Wars that acknowledges the Christmas special? Like where's the Star Wars that's going to acknowledge the Empire got taken out by evil teddy bears?
Yeah.
It's like there's so much you could have fun with.
Yeah.
There's so much minutia in the Star Wars universe you could do, and I honestly did not think Lower Decks could pull it off. I was apprehensive. I was one of those high-minded people who was like, I don't know if they could do this. I really want a TV show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was wrong. This was exactly what we needed.
For sure.
Especially during this COVID, we're all shut in. Like, I'm gonna go watch. As soon as this is over, I'm going back and watching these 10 episodes again. That it was just that good.
Yeah.
What do you want to see for next season?
I mean, just more of the same. I don't feel like I need any new characters, like new regular characters. I like the cast that we have. I do like that Boimler somewhere else so we can see how he gets back to the crew.
Or does he?
I mean, he's got to, right? I hope so.
Or do they promote Riker steps down from the Titan, and then they promote everybody from the Cerritos to the Titan?
That would be interesting.
And that's how he leaves Starfleet, and then it merges into Picard.
All right, calm down. I feel like we got to do what you want. But for me, continue to build on these characters and give us new storylines with them. There are a couple of threads that were out there. Who's the guy that Jerry O'Connell plays?
Jerry O'Connell plays Ransom.
There was they
was working out
all the time. They kind of had a will they won't they between Ransom and Mariner, and I wonder if they would explore that more. Also, I want to see her dad because we see him at the
Phil
beginning.
Lamar.
Yeah, Phil Lamar's awesome, so bring him back. But I kind of want to see the Admiral. That'd be cool.
I want to see other people in Star Trek in the show now. So now that we know where they are, we know Riker and we saw Dana Troy. I want to see, are there other people that they're going to come across within the Star Trek universe? Will they meet Seven of Nine, or will they meet Worf, or who will they see? But also, I would like to see them go to. Do you go to Romulus? Do you meet Vulcans? Do you go? Where else? Where do you go from now? And that's kind of some of the things I want to see.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see, does Boimler grow up? Like, does he? Because one of the things, the holodeck episode was really about him finding out so he could be a suck up, so he could get the promotion.
Right.
And it was really Mariner who discovered, when will Boimler become who he's supposed to be? Because everybody else is who they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And Mariner was like, I'm going to mentor you. He's like, no, I don't need that. Who is going to be that for Boimler, for him to, or maybe that's who he is.
Yeah.
So I got to admit, CBS All Access, you got me.
There we go.
Hey, that's the best recommendation I can get. You would get my $6.99.
There, you will get his $6.99. Let us know if they would get your $6.69. Sorry, if they would get your $6.99.
Sir, this is not News 19 Nerds After Dark. You better take that someplace else.
Anyway,
it's not that kind of show.
Let us know if you would pay for CBS All Access. Is what I'm trying to get at.
I would.
There we go. Let us know if you enjoyed the show. What were your favorite episodes? What did you not like about the show? As always, you can always like, comment, subscribe here on YouTube, but you can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, WRText.com. Hit the bell so when we put up more videos, and we're out.